The rain fell hard against the windows of Hyunwoo's small apartment in Seoul. He sat at his desk, staring at dead alien languages on his computer screen. The symbols meant nothing to most people, but to him they were puzzles waiting to be solved. It was better than thinking about the past. Better than remembering her face. 15. Years had passed since the Vralith came from the stars and tried to kill everyone on Earth. 15 years since the orbital bombardment of Busan. 15 years since his sister Jiwon died in the flames, or so they told him. They never found her body, just ashes and dust in a city that no longer existed. Hyunwoo rubbed his tired eyes and reached for his cold coffee. The apartment was quiet except for the rain and the hum of his computer. He liked it that way. Quiet meant no memories could sneak up on him. Quiet meant he could pretend the war never happened. Then someone knocked on his door. He froze. Nobody visited him. Not anymore. His friends had stopped calling years ago when he refused to leave his apartment for anything except work. His parents lived in the countryside now, too afraid to stay in any major city after what happened to Busan. The knock came again. Harder this time. More urgent. Hyunwoo stood slowly and walked to the door. His hand shook as he reached for the handle. Through the peephole he saw a woman standing in the hallway. She had silver-white hair that seemed to glow even in the dim light. Her clothes were torn and dirty, and she was bleeding. He opened the door without thinking. The woman stumbled forward and he caught her. She was lighter than she looked and cold, so cold. Her blood soaked into his shirt, but it wasn't red. It was blue and it glowed with a soft light that made his stomach turn. "Please," she whispered in perfect Korean, "don't let them find me." Hyunwoo's brain screamed at him to push her away, to run, to call the police, because he knew what that blue blood meant. He had studied them for years. He had memorized every detail of their biology, their culture, their language. Also, he could understand the creatures that killed his sister. She was Vralith. Before he could move, his windows exploded inward. Glass flew everywhere as 5 figures crashed into his apartment. They wore dark armor and carried weapons that hummed with deadly energy. Their faces were hidden behind helmets, but Hyunwoo knew what they were. More Vralith, hunters. The woman in his arms moved so fast he barely saw it. One moment she was dying in his grasp. The next moment she was a blur of silver and violence. Her hands became claws. Her movements were like water and lightning mixed together, beautiful and terrible. The first hunter died before he could fire his weapon. The second managed to shoot, but she twisted away from the blast and tore his throat out. The third and fourth attacked together, but she moved between them like a dancer, killing them both with strikes so precise they seemed almost gentle. The fifth hunter was smarter. He grabbed Hyunwoo and held a blade to his throat. "Stop or the human dies," the hunter said in the Vralith language. The woman froze. Her violet eyes locked onto Hyunwoo's, and in that moment he saw something he didn't expect. Fear. Not for herself, but for him. "Let him go," she said quietly. "This isn't his fight. You made it his fight when you came here, traitor." She moved again, so fast the hunter didn't have time to react. The blade fell from his hand. He fell a moment later, dead before he hit the ground. The apartment was silent except for their breathing. Blood pooled on the floor. Blue and red mixed together. 5 bodies lay scattered among the broken furniture and shattered glass. The woman turned to face Hyunwoo. She was covered in blood, both hers and theirs. Her silver hair hung in wet strands around her face. She looked like a nightmare come to life, but her eyes were full of tears. "I'm sorry," she said. "I'm so sorry you had to see that." Hyunwoo couldn't speak. His hands shook. His legs felt weak. He wanted to scream or run or wake up from this nightmare, but he just stood there staring at her. "My name is Kira," she continued, "and I need your help." "Help?" The word came out as a broken laugh. "You're one of them. You're Vralith. You killed billions of us. You destroyed entire cities. You killed my sister." Fresh tears ran down her face. I know what we did. What I did, and I would give anything to undo it. But I can't. All I can do now is try to stop it from happening again." "What are you talking about?" She stumbled and caught herself against the wall. Her wounds were bleeding again, glowing blue spreading across her torn clothes. "They're coming. An entire fleet. They're going to burn Earth to ash to make sure I die. You have 3 days, maybe less. Why should I believe you? Why should I help you? Kira reached into her pocket with a shaking hand and pulled out a small device. She pressed it, and a holographic image appeared in the air between them. It showed a young woman with kind eyes and a bright smile. A woman Hyunwoo recognized instantly, even though she was older now, even though 15 years had passed since he last saw her face. "Jiwon," he whispered. "Your sister," Kira said. "She's alive. I pulled her from the rubble in Busan. I saved her and 3,000 others that day. I smuggled them off Earth to keep them safe from my own people. She's been looking for you ever since." Hyunwoo fell to his knees. The world spun around him. This couldn't be real. It couldn't be true. Jiwon was dead. He had mourned her for 15 years. He had accepted it. But the image showed her speaking, moving, laughing with other people in what looked like a space station. The timestamp was from 2 weeks ago. "Where is she?" he asked. "A colony called Haven's Gate in the Outer Rim. I can take you to her. But first you have to help me stop what's coming. Because if I die, if they find me, they won't just destroy me. They'll destroy everyone I saved, including your sister." Kira collapsed before he could answer. Her eyes rolled back and she went limp. Hyunwoo caught her before she hit the ground. Her skin was ice cold. Her breathing was shallow. She was dying. He looked around his destroyed apartment, at the dead hunters, at the glowing blue blood, at the woman who claimed to have saved his sister. The woman who might be lying. The woman who was definitely one of the monsters who destroyed his world. But she was also the only link to Jiwoo. The only hope he had of seeing his sister again. Hyunwoo made his decision. He lifted Kira carefully and carried her to his bedroom. His medical training from his mandatory military service kicked in automatically. He grabbed his first aid kit and started working on her wounds. "Don't die on me," he muttered. "Not before you tell me everything." Outside, the rain continued to fall, and somewhere in the darkness more hunters were coming. Hyunwoo worked through the night. His hands moved with practiced efficiency even though his mind screamed at him to stop. He cleaned Kira's wounds and bandaged them as best he could. Her blood was strange, thicker than human blood and warm to the touch despite how cold her skin felt. It glowed faintly in the darkness like dying stars. She woke as dawn light crept through the broken windows. Her violet eyes opened slowly and focused on him. For a moment she looked confused, then memory returned and she tried to sit up. "Don't move," Hyunwoo said. "You lost a lot of blood." "Thank you." Her voice was weak. "You could have let me die. Many humans would have. I thought about it." He sat back in his chair, exhausted. "Tell me about Jiwon." "Tell me everything." Kira nodded slowly. She pulled herself up against the headboard, wincing with pain. "What do you know about the war? About why we came to Earth? You wanted to conquer us. To take our world? No," she shook her head. "That's what everyone believes, but it's not true. We came to Earth because we're dying. Our entire species. We've been dying for thousands of years." Hyunwoo frowned. "What do you mean, dying?" "We can't reproduce anymore. Not naturally. Our birth rate has been falling for millennia. We went from billions to millions. Soon there will be hundreds of us, then dozens, then none. We've watched our civilization crumble knowing that we're the last generation. I don't understand what that has to do with Earth." Kira took a deep breath. "There's a way for us to have children, but it requires genetic material from another species. Not just any species. They have to be compatible with us on a deep level. We've tested thousands of worlds, thousands of intelligent species. None of them worked. Until we found humanity." The words hit Hyunwoo like a physical blow. "You came here to use us. To breed with us. To save ourselves, yes. But it's more complicated than that. When we tested human genetic material, we discovered something terrifying. You weren't just compatible. You were too compatible. Your genes could overwrite ours completely. A hybrid child could destroy what's left of the Vralith species. So you decided to kill us all instead. The High Council did. They ordered Earth's complete destruction. They said it was too dangerous to let humanity survive. That we should wipe you out before you became a threat." Kira's voice broke, and I agreed. "I led the invasion fleet. I gave the orders. I watched your cities burn." Hyunwoo stood up, his fists clenched. "Get out. Get out of my home. Wait. Please." She reached out but didn't touch him. "I did terrible things. I killed millions of your people. But in Busan something changed. I saw the destruction up close. I walked through the ruins and I saw what I had done. And I couldn't do it anymore. So you had a crisis of conscience. That doesn't bring back the dead." "No, it doesn't, but I saved who I could." I went against direct orders and pulled survivors from the rubble. Your sister was trapped under a collapsed building. I dug her out with my own hands. She was barely alive, but I got her to a medical ship. Then I smuggled her and thousands of others off Earth. Why? Why would you risk that? Kira looked at her hands. They were shaking. Because I realized we had become monsters. We were so desperate to survive that we forgot what made us worth saving. My mother used to tell me that a civilization that destroys others to save itself is already dead. I didn't understand what she meant until I held your sister in my arms and felt her heart beating. She pulled out the device again and brought up more images. Videos of Ji-Wan living on a space station, working in gardens, laughing with other survivors. I called off the bombardment that day. I told the High Council that humanity was too dangerous and we should quarantine Earth instead. They believed me because I was the crown princess. Because I was their war commander. Hyunwoo's legs gave out. He sat down hard on the floor. Crown princess? Kira Velashara, heir to the Vrelith throne, commander of the Imperial fleet. I had titles and power and I used them to save as many humans as I could. But the council eventually discovered what I'd done. They branded me a traitor. They sentenced me to death. I've been running for 15 years. The room was silent except for their breathing. Outside Seoul was waking up. People going to work, living their lives not knowing how close they had come to extinction, not knowing how close they were coming again. You said they're coming back, Hyunwoo said finally. My brother Velrax leads the Empire now. He's always been more ruthless than me. When he learned I was hiding on Earth, he assembled an extermination fleet. They'll be here in less than 3 days, and they won't stop with me. They'll burn the entire planet to make sure I die and that humanity never becomes a threat. Why come to me? I'm just a researcher. Because you're not just a researcher. You study our language, our culture. You understand us better than most humans. And because I've been watching you for months, I know you lost someone in Busan. I know you blame yourself for not being there. I know you've spent 15 years drowning in guilt. Hyunwoo looked up sharply. You've been watching me? I had to be sure you were the right person. That you could handle the truth. That you would help me even though you have every reason to hate me. She pulled something else from her pocket. A small crystal that pulsed with light. This contains everything. Data on the Vrelith fleet. Information about the Cascade. What's the Cascade? A weapon. The most powerful weapon the Empire has ever created. It can ignite stars, turn them into supernovas. They plan to use it to create a barrier of dead space around Vrelith territory. It will kill trillions. Every species in dozens of sectors will die. Hyunwoo felt sick. That's insane. That's desperation. That's what happens when a species knows it's dying and has nothing left to lose. Kira held out the crystal. But there's a way to stop it. A way to save Earth and maybe even save my people. But I need your help. And I need you to trust me. Trust you? You're asking me to trust the person who killed my world? I'm asking you to trust the person who saved your sister. Who gave up everything to try to make things right. Who bound her life to yours. She pressed the crystal into his hand. There's a military base in the mountains north of here. Commander Taeyang Park runs it. He's a good man who lost everything in the war. Take me to him. Let me tell him what's coming. Let me help you save your world. Hyunwoo stared at the crystal. It was warm in his palm, pulsing like a heartbeat. Inside was information that could save billions of lives. Inside was the truth about the war and why it started. Inside was his sister's location. If you're lying, he said quietly. If any of this is a lie, I'll kill you myself. I know. Kira smiled sadly. But I'm not lying, and I'll prove it to you. I'll do something that no Vrelith has done in 1,000 years. I'll perform the blood oath and bind my life to yours. What does that mean? It means if I betray you, I die. If you die, I follow. Our lives become connected on a genetic level. It's sacred to my people, unbreakable. She pulled out a small blade. It will hurt. For both of us. But it will prove I'm telling the truth. Hyunwoo should have said no. Should have run. Should have called someone, anyone, for help. But he looked at the images of Ji-Wan still floating in the air. His sister, alive, waiting for him. Do it, he said. Kira cut her palm and then his. She pressed their bleeding hands together. The pain was immediate and overwhelming. He felt something flow from her into him. Something ancient and powerful that made his bones ache and his blood burn. Her violet eyes glowed brighter and she gasped. When it was done, they both collapsed. Hyunwoo could feel her presence in his mind like a second heartbeat. Could feel her pain and her guilt and her desperate hope. It's done, she whispered. We're bound now. For better or worse. Hyunwoo looked at his hand. The cut was already healing, leaving a silver scar. Then let's save the world. They traveled north through the mountains in Hyunwoo's old car. Kira sat in the passenger seat, wrapped in his jacket to hide her silver hair and strange features. Every few minutes he felt a pulse through their bond. Her pain, her exhaustion, her fear that they wouldn't make it in time. Stop that, she said quietly. Stop what? Worrying about me. I can feel it through the bond. Save your energy for what's coming. Hyunwoo gripped the steering wheel tighter. The bond was strange. He could sense her emotions like background noise in his mind. Could feel when she was in pain or afraid. It was invasive and uncomfortable, and he hated it. How long until the fleet arrives? He asked. 60 hours. Maybe less if they push their engines. She looked out the window at the passing trees. This world is beautiful. I understand why you fight so hard to protect it. Don't do that. Don't try to be human. You're not. I know what I am. Her voice was sad. I'm a monster wearing a human face. But that doesn't mean I can't appreciate beauty when I see it. They drove in silence for another hour. The military base was hidden deep in the mountains, disguised as a research station. Hyunwoo had been there once before for a consultation about Vralith language patterns. Commander Park had seemed like a hard man then, tough and unforgiving. This was going to be difficult. They arrived at sunset. Guards stopped them at the gate, weapons ready. Hyunwoo showed his identification and explained he needed to see Commander Park urgently. The guards made calls. Waited. Finally nodded and let them through. Park met them in his office. He was exactly as Hyunwoo remembered, late 50s, gray hair cut military short, eyes that had seen too much death. He looked at Kira and his hand moved toward his weapon. That's a Vralith, he said flatly. She has information about an incoming attack, Hyunwoo said quickly. Please just listen to her. I don't negotiate with monsters. Park pulled his gun and aimed it at Kira's head. I should kill her right now for what her kind did to my family. Kira didn't move, didn't flinch. She just looked at him with those violet eyes. You lost your daughter in Busan, Minseo Park. She was 8 years old. You never found her body? Park's hand shook. How dare you speak her name? She's alive, Kira said softly. I pulled her from the rubble the same day I found Jiwon Kim. She's at Haven's Gate Colony with the other survivors. She's 18 now. She studies medicine. She wants to be a doctor. The gun lowered slightly. You're lying. I'm not. Kira pulled out her device and showed him an image. A young woman with Park's eyes and smile working in a medical bay. I saved as many as I could that day. Your daughter was one of them. So was my humanity. Park's gun clattered to the desk. He stared at the image, tears streaming down his weathered face. His hand shook as he touched the hologram like he could reach through and hold her. Minseo, he whispered, my little girl. She's not so little anymore, Kira said. And she needs you to be strong right now. Because an extermination fleet is coming to Earth. They'll be here in less than 3 days, and if we don't stop them, everything I saved will be destroyed. Park wiped his eyes. He was a soldier, and soldiers knew how to compartmentalize their emotions. He became Commander Park again, pushing his grief aside to focus on the mission. Tell me everything, he ordered. They spent the next hour explaining. The genetic crisis, the reason for the invasion, the blood oath, the cascade weapon. Park listened without interrupting, his expression growing darker with each revelation. When they finished, he sat back in his chair. If what you're saying is true, we're facing impossible odds. Earth's defense fleet can't stop an Imperial extermination force. We barely survived the first invasion, and we were only fighting a fraction of their strength. That's why we need to destroy the cascade before they can use it, Kira said. It's in the asteroid belt, hidden in an old mining station they converted. If we can reach it and destroy it, the Vralith will lose their greatest weapon. They might negotiate instead of burning everything. Might isn't good enough, it's all we have, she leaned forward. I know you have no reason to trust me. I know what my people did, what I did, but I'm offering you a chance to strike back, to hurt the Empire the way they hurt you, and to save millions of lives in the process. Park studied her for a long moment. Then he looked at Hyunwoo. You trust her? I don't know, Hyunwoo admitted. But she's bound to me now. If she betrays us, she dies too. And I believe she wants to stop this. Wanting and doing are different things. Park stood and walked to the window. Outside, soldiers trained in the courtyard, preparing for a war they probably couldn't win. I'll help you. Not because I trust you, but because my daughter is alive and I won't let her down again. But understand this, Vralith. If you're lying, if this is some kind of trick, I will kill you slowly, and I will enjoy it. I understand, Kira said. Park made calls. Within an hour, a strike team was assembled. 6 people, including Park, Kira, and Hyunwoo. There was Bo-Ra, a combat medic who lost her entire unit in the war, Dae-hyun, a hotshot pilot barely 25 years old who flew with reckless skill, and 2 other soldiers, veterans who looked at Kira with barely contained rage. They gathered in the briefing room. Park brought up a holographic map of the solar system, showing the asteroid belt and the location of the Cascade weapon. "This is a suicide mission," he said bluntly. "We're taking a stealth ship into enemy territory with no backup and no guarantee we'll make it back. Anyone who wants out can leave now. No judgment, nobody moved. Good. We leave in 4 hours. Get your gear ready." As the team dispersed, Hyunwoo felt a wave of anxiety through the bond. He looked at Kira. She was staring at the map with an expression he couldn't read. "What's wrong?" he asked. "My brother will be there. Felrex. He's commanding the fleet personally." She touched the hologram, her fingers passing through the image of a massive warship. "He was 7 when our mother died. I raised him, taught him everything he knows, and now I'm going to have to fight him. Will he listen to you? Can you convince him to stop?" She laughed bitterly. "He's the one who sentenced me to death. He hunted me across the galaxy for 15 years. No, Hyunwoo, he won't listen, and I'll probably have to kill him to stop this." Through the bond, he felt her grief, deep and old and heavy as a collapsed star. She had lost so much already. Her throne, her people, her purpose, and now she might lose her brother too. "I'm sorry," he said. "Don't be. I made my choices. Now I have to live with them." She turned to face him, or die with them. "Either way, at least I'm trying to do the right thing. That has to count for something." Before he could respond, alarms blared throughout the base. Red lights flashed. Soldiers ran to their positions. Park burst back into the room, his face pale. "They're here," he said. "The fleet just appeared in orbit. They're 3 days early." Through the windows, they could see the sky changing. Points of light that weren't stars appeared overhead. Dozens of them, hundreds. An armada that blotted out the heavens. Kira grabbed Hyunwoo's arm. "We need to leave now. They'll start bombardment within the hour. This base is a primary target." "How did they find us so fast?" Park demanded. "They must have tracked the hunters I killed." She was already moving toward the door. "They know I'm here. They know you're helping me. This entire region is going to burn." Hyunwoo felt his heart racing, felt Kira's fear mixing with his own through the bond, felt the weight of billions of lives hanging on what they did next. "To the ship," Park ordered. "Everyone move, now!" They ran through the base as the sky turned orange with fire. The Vralith had come to Earth again, and this time, they weren't going to stop until everything burned. The stealth ship launched as the first orbital strikes hit the mountains. Explosions lit up the night sky behind them, turning the forest into an inferno. Taehyun flew like a man possessed, weaving through the atmosphere, while enemy fighters screamed past them. "They're not scanning for us yet," he said, his hands dancing over the controls. "The stealth systems are holding, but once we're in space, all bets are off." Hyunwoo strapped himself into a seat, his stomach churning from the violent maneuvers. Kira sat beside him, her eyes closed, lips moving in what might have been a prayer. Through their bond, he felt her reaching out, sensing the Vralith ships above them like a blind person feeling their way through darkness. "There's a gap in their formation," she said suddenly. "North by northwest. They're focused on ground targets. If we go now, we can slip through." "How do you know that?" Park demanded from his seat. "I commanded these fleets for decades. I know how they think, how they position their ships." Her eyes opened, glowing faintly in the dim cabin light. "Trust me." Dae-hyun looked at Park. The commander nodded once. The pilot adjusted course and pushed the engines harder. The ship screamed upward through the gap Kira identified, and miraculously, they made it through without being detected. Space opened up around them. Earth hung below, blue and green and beautiful, but it was surrounded by a ring of warships that dwarfed anything humanity had ever built. Hundreds of vessels, each one capable of glassing a continent. The Vralith armada had come in force. "Sweet mercy," Bo-Ra whispered. "How are we supposed to fight that?" "We're not," Park said grimly. "We just need to destroy their weapon. Make them think twice about burning everything." The journey to the asteroid belt took 6 hours. They flew in silence, each person lost in their own thoughts. Hyunwoo watched Kira through the bond, feeling her emotions shift and change. Guilt, fear, determination, and something else. Something that felt like hope. "Tell me about your people," he said quietly. "Not the war, not the dying. Tell me what they were like before all this." Kira looked surprised. "Why do you want to know?" "Because I need to understand. I need to know if there's anything worth saving." She was quiet for a moment, then began to speak. "We were artists once, poets and musicians. We built cities that floated in the clouds and gardens that bloomed in vacuum. We had a saying, 'A life without beauty is no life at all.' Every child learned to create something, painting or sculpture or song. It didn't matter what, as long as it brought joy. What happened? The plague happened. The genetic degradation. We watched our children stop being born and we became desperate. We forgot about beauty and focused only on survival. We became conquerors because we were too afraid to die with grace." She smiled sadly. "My mother tried to remind us. She filled the palace with art and music, even as our population dwindled. But after she died, even that stopped. Now we're just ghosts pretending to be alive." Hyunwoo felt her pain through the bond, centuries of loss and grief compressed into a single moment. "I'm sorry. Don't be. We did this to ourselves. We made our choices." She looked out the window at the stars. "But maybe it's not too late. Maybe we can be something better, if we survive." They reached the asteroid belt and began searching for the mining station. It took another 2 hours to find it, hidden among the rocks and debris. The station was old and battered, disguised to look abandoned. But Kira's scans showed massive power signatures inside. "That's it," she confirmed. "The cascade is there." Daehyun brought them in slowly, matching velocity with a large asteroid. They docked at an old airlock that looked unused. Park checked his weapon and nodded to the team. "We go in quiet." "Find the weapon!" "Plant charges." "Get out." Simple. Nothing about it was simple. They moved through the station in near darkness, following Kira's directions. The corridors were empty, but they could hear machinery humming in the walls. Something huge and powerful running in the heart of the station. Then they reached the central chamber and stopped dead. The cascade wasn't a weapon in any traditional sense. It was a machine the size of a building, all crystalline structures and flowing energy. It pulsed with light that hurt to look at, each pulse sending waves of force through the air. And standing in front of it was a figure in ornate armor. Velrax. He was younger than Hyunwoo expected. Maybe early 20s in human years. Though he knew Vrelith aged differently, he had the same silver hair as Kira, the same violet eyes. But where her face showed grief and guilt, his showed only cold fury. "Sister," he said, "I knew you would come." Velrax. Kira stepped forward, putting herself between him and the others. "Please, you don't have to do this, don't I? You betrayed our people. You saved our enemies. You threw away your crown for these animals." He gestured at the humans with disgust. "And now you come here to destroy our last hope of survival. This isn't survival. This is genocide. The cascade will kill trillions. What are trillions of alien lives compared to the Vrelith Empire? We are the oldest civilization in the galaxy. We have rights that these young species cannot understand. We have no rights." Kira's voice cracked. "We're dying because we refuse to change. Because we thought we were better than everyone else. Mother tried to tell us, but we wouldn't listen. Don't speak of her." Velrax's hand moved to his weapon. "You dishonor her memory by standing with humans. I honor her memory by trying to save lives instead of taking them." Behind Kira, Park was slowly moving the team into position. But Velrax wasn't alone. More Vrelith soldiers emerged from the shadows, heavily armed and ready. They were outnumbered 5-1. "I have a better idea," Velrax said. "Surrender now and I'll make your death quick. The humans can watch and then I'll kill them too. It's the mercy you never showed our people." "The mercy I never showed?" Kira laughed bitterly. "I spent 15 years saving humans. 30,000 of them. I gave up everything for them." "Yes, you did. And that's why you must die." Velrax drew his blade. "But before you do, I want you to know something. We've developed a new weapon. A bioweapon specifically designed to target the genetic markers you created when you bound yourself to that human. Do you know what will happen when we deploy it?" Through the bond, Hyunwoo felt Kira's horror bloom like ice in his chest. "No," she whispered. "Yes. Every human or Vrelith with compatible genes will die. Every person you saved. Every hybrid. Everyone who carries the markers you introduced. Billions of casualties on both sides, and it's all your fault. Kira fell to her knees. The weight of what she'd done crashed down on her. She had tried to save people, tried to make things right, but she had only made it worse. The blood oath that was supposed to prove her sincerity had instead given the Empire a way to kill everyone she cared about. "You're lying," Park said. "No weapon could do that. We've had 15 years to develop it. 15 years to study the genetic samples we took from the humans she saved. 15 years to create the perfect plague." Velrax smiled cruelly. "And when the cascade activates, it will release the bioweapon across dozens of sectors. Everyone dies." Problem solved. Hyunwoo felt Kira breaking through the bond, felt her hope dying, replaced by despair so deep it pulled him down with her. He stumbled and caught himself against the wall. "Kira," he gasped. "Don't give up. There has to be a way." But she didn't respond. She just knelt there, broken, while her brother advanced with his blade raised. Daehyun moved first. He fired at Velrax, forcing him to dodge. The chamber erupted in chaos. Weapons fired. People screamed. The humans fought desperately against superior numbers, falling back toward the entrance. Bora pulled Hyunwoo toward cover as energy bolts sizzled past his head. "We need to fall back." "We're outgunned." Park was still fighting, but even he knew they were losing. One of the soldiers went down. Then another. The Vralith were too fast, too strong, too many, and Kira just knelt there, lost in despair, while her brother closed in for the kill. Through the bond, Hyunwoo reached for her, pushed through his own fear to find her in the darkness. "Kira, listen to me. Your mother told you something once. About hope. Remember?" Her eyes flickered. "She said to choose hope even when it seems impossible. You told me that. You said it in my apartment." He crawled toward her as weapons fire filled the air around them. "So choose. Choose hope. Choose to fight." Kira looked up. Tears streamed down her face, but through them her eyes began to glow. "You're right," she whispered. "If I'm going to die, I'll die fighting." She moved. Kira became a storm. She moved through the Vralith soldiers like wind through grass, her hands and feet striking with precision that came from centuries of combat training. She wasn't trying to kill them. She was trying to reach her brother. Velrax met her blade to blade. They fought across the chamber while the cascade pulsed behind them, building toward activation. Brother and sister locked in a dance they had practiced since childhood but never thought they would perform in earnest. "You were always the better fighter," Velrax said between strikes. "Mother made sure of that." "The crown princess must be strong," she said. "Must be perfect." "I was never perfect," Kira replied, blocking his thrust. "I just hid my mistakes better than you." "Is that what you call this? A mistake?" He pressed his attack, driving her back. "You destroyed our family, our empire, everything we built. Everything we built was already dying. I just tried to save what I could." Their blades locked. They stood face to face, close enough that Hyunwoo could see the tears in both their eyes. "I loved you," Velrax whispered. "You were my sister, my teacher, my hero, and you threw it all away for them. I know, and I'm sorry, but I couldn't watch us become monsters. Mother wouldn't have wanted that. Mother is dead, and soon you will be too." He shoved her away and struck, but this time Kira didn't block. She stepped inside his guard and embraced him, not as an enemy, but as a sister holding her baby brother one last time. "I love you," she said into his ear. "I'm sorry I couldn't save you too." Velrax froze. His blade fell from his hand. For a moment he was just a boy who missed his sister, who had spent 15 years angry and alone, trying to fill shoes too big for him. Then he shoved her away. Don't try to manipulate me with sentiment. I'm not manipulating you. I'm telling you the truth." Kira picked up his blade and handed it back to him. "If you want to kill me, kill me. But know that I died trying to save our people. All of them. Not just Vralith." Velrax stared at the blade in his hand. Behind him, the cascade's pulses were getting faster. The weapon was nearly ready. In minutes, it would activate and send its deadly signal across the galaxy. Billions would die. The bioweapon would spread. Everything would end. "There has to be another way," he said finally. "A way that doesn't require everyone to die." "There is," Kira said. "But you'll have to trust me." Park and the others had fought off the remaining Vralith soldiers. They approached cautiously, weapons still raised. Hyunwoo could feel Kira's desperation through the bond, her racing thoughts as she tried to find a solution. The bioweapon, she said. It targets compatible genetic markers. The ones created by my blood oath with Hyunwoo. Yes, Velrax confirmed. It will kill anyone with those markers. Millions of humans. Thousands of Raylith who have had contact with your saved humans. It's the only way to eliminate the threat. But what if we could change the markers? What if we could create a new genetic signature that the bioweapon can't target? That's impossible. Genetic restructuring on that scale would require... Velrax stopped. His eyes widened. No, absolutely not. What? Park demanded. What is she talking about? Kira looked at Hyunwoo. Through the bond, he felt her resolve, her acceptance of what came next. There's a way to create a genetic bridge between humans and Raylith. A true hybrid species that carries traits from both. It would overwrite the current markers, making the bioweapon useless. That's what the Council was afraid of, Velrax said. That's why they wanted to destroy Earth, because a hybrid species could replace us. Or save us. Kira walked to the cascade. She placed her hand on its crystalline surface and it responded to her touch, displaying information in flowing Raylith symbols. This machine doesn't just ignite stars. It's a quantum transmitter. It can broadcast genetic information across light years instantly. If I use it to send a new template, everyone with compatible markers would begin to transform. Transform into what? Bora asked. Something new. Something that carries the best of both species. Human adaptability and creativity. Raylith longevity and enhanced abilities. A hybrid that could survive and thrive where both our species are failing. Hyunwoo stepped forward. What would that mean for existing humans? For the people on Earth? Only those with compatible markers would change. Those exposed to my genetic material through the blood oath or contact with the saved humans. Maybe a few million people total. The rest would remain fully human. She looked at him, including your sister. She's been in close contact with me for years. She'll be one of the first to transform. And Raylith? Velrax asked quietly. Those who have had contact with humans, who have shown the genetic compatibility. They'll transform too. Not many, maybe a few thousand, but it would be a start. A new generation that could actually reproduce, that could save our species. By destroying what we are, by becoming what we could be. Kira's voice was soft but firm. Mother used to say that a species that refuses to adapt deserves to die. Maybe it's time we listen to her. Velrax stood silent for a long time. Outside the station, they could hear ships approaching. More Raylith forces coming to secure the cascade before activation. They were running out of time. There's a cost, isn't there? Velrax said finally. There's always a cost with genetic manipulation. Kira nodded. Someone has to be the template. Someone has to provide the genetic blueprint for the hybrid species. And the process will kill them. The chamber fell silent. Everyone understood what she was saying. What she was offering. No, Hyunwoo said. There has to be another way. There isn't. I've run the calculations. Without a living template, the process fails. The genetic information degrades. It has to be me. She smiled at him. I'm already dying, Hyunwoo. The wounds from the hunters. The blood oath. My body is breaking down, but I can still do this. I can still save everyone. Through the bond, he felt her certainty. Her peace with this decision. She had made up her mind long before coming here. This was always the plan. I can't lose you, he said. Not after finding Jiwon. Not after everything. You're not losing me. You're letting me become something greater. She touched his face gently. Tell your sister I'm sorry I couldn't meet her. Tell her the monster who saved her life found redemption at the end. And tell her to live. To really live. That's what this is for. Park stepped forward. You would do this? After everything? After what we've done to each other? Because of what we've done to each other. Because I need to make it right. Kira looked at all of them. I've killed millions. I've destroyed worlds, but maybe I can save billions. Maybe that's enough. Velrax made a sound that might have been a sob. Sister, please, don't leave me alone. I'm not leaving you alone. I'm giving you a future. Take care of our people. Help them through the transformation. And maybe someday you'll understand why I did this. She walked to the cascade and placed both hands on it. The machine responded immediately, wrapping her in light. Hyunwoo tried to run to her, but Velrax held him back. Let her do this, the young emperor said. Let her have this choice. Kira's body began to glow. Her genetic code was being unraveled, analyzed, restructured. She screamed, but not in pain. In release, in joy. In the knowledge that her death would mean something. Through the bond, Hyunwoo felt everything. Her memories flooding into him. Her childhood. Her mother's lessons. The moment she decided to save humans in Busan. Every decision that led her here. And at the center of it all, a simple truth. She had found something worth dying for. The light grew brighter. The cascade began to pulse in rhythm with her heartbeat. And then, with a sound like breaking glass, it released. A wave of energy burst from the station and spread across the galaxy at quantum speeds. It carried Kira's genetic template, encoded in light and information. Every human and Vralith with compatible markers would receive it. Would begin to change. When the light faded, Kira was gone. Just ashes and memory. But through the bond, Hyunwoo felt something remain. An echo. A whisper of who she was, woven into his genetic code forever. He fell to his knees and wept. The transformation began immediately. Hyunwoo felt it first through the severed bond. Like phantom pain from a missing limb. His cells were changing, restructuring themselves according to the template Kira had created. It didn't hurt. It felt like waking up from a long sleep. Around the chamber, others began to change too. Bora gasped as her eyes flickered with faint violet light. Daehyun's skin took on a subtle shimmer, scales forming and fading beneath the surface. Even some of the Vralith soldiers showed changes, their features softening, becoming more human. Velrak stood frozen, staring at where his sister had been. His hands shook. Tears ran down his face, cutting clean paths through the dust. He looked younger suddenly, stripped of his emperor's mask. "She's gone," he whispered. "She's really gone." Park approached him slowly. "She saved us, all of us. Human and Vralith both, I know. That doesn't make it easier." Velrax looked at his hands. They were changing too, taking on warmth that Vralith skin never had. She always did this, always sacrificed herself for others. Even when we were children, she would take the blame for things I did, would stand between me and Father's anger. "Sounds like she loved you very much," Park said quietly. "She did, and I sentenced her to death for it." The young emperor's voice cracked. "What kind of brother does that?" "The kind who was trying to save his people. Same as her. You both made impossible choices." Park looked at the other humans and Vralith in the chamber, all of them transforming, all of them becoming something new. "But maybe now you can make better ones." Alarms began blaring throughout the station. Ships were docking. More Vralith forces pouring in to investigate the quantum pulse. They had minutes at most before being overrun. "We need to leave," Daehyun said, already moving toward the exit. "Now!" But Velrax held up his hand. "Wait, I'm still the Emperor. I can order them to stand down." He walked to a communication panel and activated it. His face appeared on screens throughout the fleet above Earth. Every Vralith soldier and officer could see him. See the changes beginning in his features. See the tears on his face. "This is Emperor Velrax. I am ordering an immediate ceasefire. All forces are to withdraw from Earth orbit and hold position." He took a breath. "My sister, Crown Princess Kira Velashara, has given her life to save our species. She has created a genetic bridge between Vralith and humanity. Many of you are already feeling the changes. Do not be afraid. This is not an attack. This is a gift." Murmurs and protests came through the communication channel. Velrax raised his voice. "I know what the Council taught us. That humans are a threat, that hybrids would destroy us. But they were wrong. We were dying because we refused to change. Because we thought we were better than everyone else. Kira saw the truth. She gave up everything to show us a better way." His voice softened. "She was the best of us. And she's gone because I was too blind to see it. Don't make my mistake. Don't let fear destroy what she built." The communication channel fell silent. Then, slowly, ships began to withdraw from Earth. The extermination fleet that had come to burn the world pulled back, confused, but obedient. Their emperor had spoken. Velrax turned off the panel and looked at Park. "That should give you time. But there will be challenges. Some of my people won't accept this, won't accept the hybrids. Same with humans," Park admitted. "We've hated each other too long. It won't be easy. Nothing worth doing ever is." Velrax looked at Hyunwoo. "You were bound to her. You felt everything she felt. Tell me, was she at peace at the end?" Hyunwoo closed his eyes, remembering. Yes, she was at peace. She felt like she had finally done something right. Something that mattered. Good. That's good. Velrax straightened, becoming the Emperor again. "I need to return to my flagship. Address my people properly. Figure out how to lead a species that's about to become something else. He paused. Tell the humans that the war is over. We'll send ambassadors, negotiate proper peace terms, and we'll help protect Earth if anyone else tries to attack. Why? Park asked. Why help us now? Because Kira would want me to, and because you're not just humans anymore. Some of you are becoming like us. That makes you family in a way. He managed a small smile. Besides, if we're going to survive as hybrids, we need to learn to work together. Might as well start now. They left the station together, humans and Vrelith walking side by side for the first time in history. Ships waited to take them to their respective homes. But before they parted, Velrax stopped Hyunwoo. She showed me her memories. Before the end, she let me see everything through your bond. The Emperor's eyes were haunted. I saw how she viewed herself. As a monster, a killer, someone beyond redemption. She was wrong about that, Hyunwoo said, was she? She killed millions, destroyed cities, orphaned children like you and me. Velrax looked away, but she also saved thousands. Gave up her crown, sacrificed herself for strangers. Which version was real? The monster or the hero? Both, she was both. That's what made her choice matter. She could have stayed a monster, but she chose to be better. Hyunwoo touched his chest where the blood oath scar still glowed faintly. She taught me that redemption isn't about erasing what you've done. It's about doing better going forward. Velrax nodded slowly. Then I suppose I need to learn the same lesson. I sentenced my sister to death. I led fleets to conquer worlds. I have blood on my hands too. He looked at his changing hands. But maybe I can be better. Like she was. Maybe we all can be, Park said. Human, Vrelith, or hybrid. Maybe that's the real gift she gave us. The chance to be better than we were. They parted ways then, each group heading to their ships. As Hyunwoo strapped into his seat, he felt the transformation continuing. His senses were sharper. His thoughts clearer. He could feel connections forming in his mind. Links to other people going through the same changes. A network of hybrid consciousness spreading across the galaxy. Somewhere in that network he felt his sister. G1 was transforming too, far away on Haven's Gate. Through the genetic link he sensed her confusion, her fear, and then her wonder as she realized what was happening. What Kira had done, and beneath it all, like a whisper carried on quantum wind, he felt Kira. Not alive, but not entirely gone either. Her genetic code had been woven into millions of people. Part of her existed in all of them now. In their enhanced strength. Their longer lives. Their ability to see and think and feel in ways that neither humans nor Vrelith could alone. She had become part of something greater. And she had taken humanity and the Vrelith with her. Daehyun fired the engines and they left the asteroid belt behind. Earth grew larger in the viewport, still blue and green and beautiful. Still home. The orbital fleet had withdrawn to a respectful distance, no longer threatening but not entirely trusting either. That would take time. Trust always did. What happens now? Bora asked. She was examining her hands, watching scales flicker beneath her skin. What do we do with this gift she gave us? We live, Hyunwoo said simply. We live and we make it mean something. We build bridges between our species. We explore the galaxy as partners instead of enemies. We make sure her sacrifice wasn't wasted. And if people refuse, if they reject the hybrids, then we show them why they're wrong. With patience, with understanding, with everything Kira tried to teach us. He looked at his reflection in the window, seeing violet hints in his own eyes now. She believed we could be better, all of us. I'm not going to prove her wrong. Park nodded, agreed. When we get back, I'm recommending Earth establish formal diplomatic relations with the Vrelith Empire, and I'm requesting that Haven's Gate colony be given special status. Those survivors Kira saved deserve recognition, deserve to come home if they want. Some will want to stay, Hyunwoo said. Ji-won will want to stay. She's built a life there. But others will want to return. To see Earth again. To reunite with families like I'm about to reunite with her. Then we make that happen. Whatever it takes. Park smiled, and it was the first genuine smile Hyunwoo had seen on the grizzled commander's face. My daughter is alive because of Kira. I owe her everything. The least I can do is make sure her sacrifice leads to something good. They landed at a military base outside Seoul 3 hours later. The city was intact, saved by Velrax's order to withdraw. People were already coming out of shelters, looking up at the sky where the Vrelith fleet had been. Seeing them gone, seeing a future that didn't involve fire and death. News of the transformation spread quickly. Within hours, everyone on Earth knew what had happened, what Kira had done. Reactions were mixed. Some celebrated, some feared, some raged at the idea of becoming part alien. But slowly people began to understand, began to see the hybrids appearing among them not as threats but as bridges. Hyunwoo spent the next 3 days in debriefings and medical examinations. Scientists wanted to study the transformation. Politicians wanted to understand the political implications. Everyone wanted to know about Kira, about why she did it, about whether they could trust the peace she had created. He told them the truth, all of it, the good and the bad, the monster and the hero. He showed them his memories through the genetic link, let them feel what he had felt, let them understand. And finally, after 3 days of chaos and confusion and change, he received a message. A video call from Haven's Gate, from his sister. Jiwon appeared on the screen, older but unmistakable. She had Violet Hyunwoo stood at the spaceport waiting for the transport from Haven's Gate. Around him, the world had changed in ways both subtle and profound. Humans and Vralith walked side by side now, no longer enemies but uncertain partners. The hybrids were more common every day, their numbers growing as the transformation spread through those with compatible genetics. Children played in the terminal, some fully human, some showing Vralith traits, some somewhere in between. They didn't care about the differences. They just played the way children always had. It gave him hope. The transport arrived with a hiss of equalizing pressure. The doors opened and people began to emerge. Humans who had been saved 15 years ago, returning home at last, Vralith who wanted to see Earth, to understand the species they had almost destroyed, and hybrids the first generation of something entirely new. Then he saw her. Jiwon stepped off the transport and their eyes met. For a moment they just stared at each other. 15 years of grief and loss and longing, compressed into a single heartbeat. Then they were running, meeting in the middle, holding each other tight while tears streamed down both their faces. "You're real," Hyunwoo whispered. "You're really real." "So are you." Jiwon laughed through her tears. "I searched for so long, asked everyone, but Earth's records were so damaged after the war. I couldn't find you. I thought you were dead. They told me you died in Busan. I almost did. But she saved me." Jiwon pulled back enough to look at him. Her eyes carried violet hints now, and when she smiled he could see the faint shimmer of scales along her neck. "Kira pulled me from the rubble with her bare hands, carried me to a medical ship. She saved 3,000 people that day and she looked so tired, so broken, like she was carrying the weight of the galaxy on her shoulders. She was," Hyunwoo said, "and she never stopped carrying it until the end." They walked through Seoul together, catching up on 15 years of missed life. Ji-won told him about Haven's Gate, about the community of survivors who had built new lives there, about the children born on the colony who had never seen Earth but dreamed of it anyway, about how they had all felt the transformation begin and known somehow that Kira had done something incredible. "We felt her die," Ji-won said quietly. "Through the genetic link. It was like the sun going out. But then the new template spread and we understood what she'd done, what she'd given us." She touched her neck where scales flickered. "I'm not fully human anymore. Does that bother you?" "No, you're still my sister. That's all that matters." Hyunwoo smiled. "Besides, I'm not fully human either now." They reached his apartment building, the one where it all began, where Kira had knocked on his door bleeding and desperate and changed the course of history. He had thought about moving but couldn't bring himself to leave. It felt wrong somehow, like abandoning her memory. Inside, he had turned the apartment into a memorial of sorts. Artifacts from both human and Vralith cultures filled the shelves. Books and art and music all blended together. On his desk sat a small crystal, the last physical remnant of Kira's genetic template. It glowed faintly sometimes, especially at night, as if some part of her still lingered. Ji-won walked through the space, touching things gently. "You honor her memory. Someone should. She gave up everything. Her crown, her people, her life. The least I can do is remember. Not just you. Thousands of us remember. The survivors she saved. The hybrids she created. She lives on in all of us." Ji-won placed her hand over her heart. "I can feel her sometimes in the genetic link. An echo of who she was. Her strength. Her guilt. Her hope that we'd be better than she was. We will be. We have to be. A knock at the door interrupted them. Hyunwoo opened it to find Park standing there looking uncomfortable in civilian clothes. The commander had retired from military service to focus on building diplomatic bridges between humans and Vralith. "Sorry to interrupt," Park said, "but I thought you'd want to know. Velrax is visiting Earth. He's asking to meet with you." Hyunwoo and Jiwon exchanged glances. The young emperor had kept his word about peace negotiations, but this was the first time he'd actually come to Earth. It felt significant. They met him at the human government complex in a room designed for diplomatic meetings. Velrax looked different than he had 6 months ago. The transformation had progressed further in him, giving him warmer coloring and softer features. But his eyes still carried the weight of leadership, of responsibility. "Thank you for seeing me," he said formally. Then more quietly, "I wasn't sure you would." "You're Kira's brother," Hyunwoo replied. "That makes you family in a way." Velrax's expression crumbled slightly. "She would have liked hearing you say that." He gestured to the chairs. "May we sit?" "There's much to discuss." They talked for hours, about the transformation spreading through both species, about the political challenges as traditionalists on both sides rejected the hybrids, about the children being born with traits from both species, the first true generation of the new people Kira had envisioned. "Some of my advisors say she destroyed our species," Velrax admitted, "that we're being absorbed into humanity, erased from existence." "What do you say?" Park asked. "I say she saved us. We were dying. Now we're changing, evolving into something that can actually survive, that can reproduce and build and create." He smiled slightly. "Yesterday I met a hybrid child, 3 years old. She painted me a picture of the Vralith homeworld even though she's never been there. Said she saw it in her dreams, in the genetic memory we all carry now." "That's beautiful," Jiwon said. "It is. It's also our future. A future where we remember where we came from but aren't trapped by it, where we can be both Vralith and human and something entirely new." Velrax looked at Hyunwoo. "My sister saw that future, believed in it enough to die for it. I'm trying to do the same, to lead my people toward it even when they resist." "It won't be easy," Park warned. "People fear change. On both sides. I know, but I have advantages she didn't. I have her sacrifice to point to, her example, and I have allies like you who understand what she was trying to build." Velrax stood. "I'm proposing a joint colony, human and Vralith together, building something new from the ground up. A city where hybrids are welcomed, where both our cultures can blend and grow." "Where?" Hyunwoo asked. "Busan." The word hung in the air. The city where everything changed, where Kira saved her first humans and realized what she had to do. I want to rebuild it as a monument to her, to what she believed we could become. Hyunwoo thought of his sister being pulled from rubble in that destroyed city, thought of Kira walking through the ashes and deciding to become something better. It felt right somehow. Poetic. "I'll help," he said. "Whatever you need." "Me too," Jiwon added. "Many of the Haven's Gate survivors would want to be part of this. It feels like coming home." Park nodded. "I'll support it. But you need to understand, there will be opposition. From humans who lost loved ones in that city, from Vralith who think you're dishonoring your heritage." "I know, but Kira faced worse opposition and she never stopped fighting for what was right." Velrax looked at each of them. "She taught me that leadership isn't about making easy choices. It's about making necessary ones, and this is necessary. For both our peoples." Over the next months, they worked to make it happen. The ruins of Busan were cleared, not erased, but incorporated into the new design. Memorials were built for those who died, gardens planted in their memory, and slowly a new city rose from the ashes. Humans came, Vralith came, hybrids came in greater numbers, drawn to a place where they belonged without question. Artists painted murals depicting both species' histories, showing the war but also showing the peace that came after. Musicians blended human and Vralith instruments into new harmonies that made everyone who heard them weep. Hyunwoo walked through the new Busan a year after it opened, marveling at what they had built. Children played in streets where bombs had once fallen. Families gathered in parks that had been graveyards. Life had returned to this place where so much death had occurred. He found Jiwon in one of the memorial gardens, tending to flowers that glowed softly in the twilight. Hybrid plants like the hybrid people who had planted them. Beautiful things that couldn't exist without both species contributing. "Do you think she would be proud?" Jiwon asked. of what we've built. I know she would be. I can feel it through the genetic link. An echo of her approval. He sat beside his sister on a bench. She wanted us to live. To really live. Not just survive, but thrive. Create beauty from horror. Hope from despair. I think we're doing that. We are. But there's still so much work to do. The architects are still out there. The ones who manipulated us into war. Velrax says they're regrouping, looking for other species to destroy. Then we'll face them together, human and Vraylith, united instead of divided. That's what Kira died for. That's her real legacy. They sat in comfortable silence as the sun set. Around them, the city came alive with lights. Human and Vraylith technology blended seamlessly. In the distance, he could hear music and laughter. The sounds of people living, loving, building futures together.